This podcast is for educational purposes only, does not constitute legal advice, and does not create an attorney-client relationship. If you need legal assistance about a legal problem, contact an attorney.
Welcome back to Know Your Regulator, the podcast that inspires you to engage. I am your host, Cimone Murphree, and today's episode is a quick but powerful one, especially if you are a nurse, doctor, pharmacist, really any medical professional who holds a license here in Texas. We've pulled together 5 of the most important things that you need to know to protect your license based on real conversations with our guests. Now, these are not just tips. These are the takeaways that professionals wish they had known sooner. So let's get into it. Tip number 1, don't miss the mail.
Our doctors will always be notified of a complaint by a letter that they're going to receive in the mail. That kind of shows the importance right there of keeping your contact information up to date with us, because if we have an old, out-of-date mailing address on file, you're not going to get the notice of complaint, and then you're not going to be able to respond, which means you can't defend yourself.
You don't want to find out about a complaint after a decision's already been made. The boards still use physical mail. So make sure if you move, you keep your address up to date. It's one of the simplest ways to stay protected. Tip number 2, ask for the investigative file.
With the Board of Nursing, you're going to get the notice, and a lot of people don't know, but now you know, that you need to ask for the investigative file. They call it the investigative file, but it's basically all the evidence that the board has received against you. Unlike a lot of boards, unfortunately in Texas, with the Board of Nursing, you are entitled to all those records. So a lot of times nurses, might hire us after they've already responded and they haven't even gotten the evidence, which is kind of like, if you've seen any like law drama, that's not what you want to do. You want to know what the facts are, what the evidence is against you, and then you respond.
Don't try and explain yourself without knowing what the board's looking at. You have a right to the evidence they have against you, and that's where your defense begins. Moving on to tip number 3, get legal coverage in your liability plan.
The best tip that I was ever given was with my partner in crime during our internship. We had just graduated, so I'm looking at liability plans, and I'd always had my own in grad school because I didn't trust my grad school valid. And she was just like, make sure you get the representation part of your liability plan. And I was like, what? And she goes, yeah, they'll do board defense, or any time that, if you're sued, they'll help pay for the lawyer.
Legal protection isn't just for lawsuits. If a board complaint is filed against you, you may need a defense attorney, and good insurance can help cover that. Tip number 4, take care of your mental health.
It's sometimes the case, kind of paradoxically, that the strongest person is the person who does recognize that they need some help and is willing to avail themselves of the help that's out there, whether it's from an EAP or a professional assistance program, or just their own psychologist or their own doctor, at least as a place to start. I think sometimes the person who recognizes that it's a long game that you're playing, and even if you could continue to sort of white knuckle it, which is a common thing, people struggling tend to kind of tell themselves, well, it's going to get better. It's if I just go on a little bit longer, then I'll get a breather and I'll be able to sort of reset and retool. And really that's sort of some denial talking there. So I think the folks who actually are strong enough to say, what I want is a sustainable practice. I don't want to help, relatively small number of folks over the next little while and then burn out or wash out or get kicked out of the profession. I want to help a relatively large number of people over a period of years or decades going forward.
Caregiver fatigue is real. Don't ignore the stress, the sleepless nights, the self-doubt. Protecting your license starts with protecting your health. And our final tip number 5, know the rules that protect you.
And how are you going to do that? Because it's easy for us to sit here and talk about that, right? But what are you going to use? You're going to use what we're telling you, the rules and regulations. When I show up to my job and they're trying to give me, let's just say, an unsafe assignment, what am I going to say? Well, okay, you're not going to get animated and activated. I have concerns about this. Not right to safe harbor. Let's talk about this. So 217.11.1S says making an unsafe assignment, you making that, and T is me accepting that. So if I don't have the education, training, and knowledge as that regulation says, how can I accept this unsafe assignment? And then if we look at civil litigation, the definition of medical malpractice is knowingly willing to take on an unsafe assignment. So before I do that, can we, use the chain of command? Can we get the charge nurse here? Can we maybe get the house supervisor? Maybe there's a nurse in pre-op or somewhere else that can come here and help task to alleviate things. But that's going to be in part of your nursing foundation and your nursing portfolio that you're going to, build for yourself.
You are allowed to speak up. You don't have to accept an unsafe assignment or break the rules to meet the moment. Know the rules, know the language, and don't be afraid to use it. We've heard from so many of you in the medical field, and one thing is clear, you want more focused content that speaks directly to your profession. So we've listened. We're excited to announce a brand new weekly podcast series launching this Friday, June 27th. This series is going to spotlight timely issues, helpful reminders, real-world guidance for medical license holders delivered in quick, digestible clips. So you can catch it right here or on social media. Be sure to subscribe so you don't miss an episode. We can't wait to begin charting this course with you. And as always, stay inspired and continue engaging with your regulatory agency.
Know Your Regulator, the podcast that inspires you to engage.